Hey there, pirates. Welcome aboard the Anime No Me channel. What if Bartholomew Kuma, the character we all thought just did some wild stuff with people's pain, actually ended up making Zoro immortal without anyone even realizing it? Yeah, I know it sounds like some crazy plot twist, but if you go back and look at the right chapters and really think about what happened, a lot of it actually makes sense. Maybe even more than we thought. So let me walk you through this theory, chapter by chapter. No fluff, just that chill explanation style you're used to. Because I think there's a lot more to this story than most people noticed. I hope for your support to help our crew win, and to do so, you just need to click the thumbs up button, leave a like, and subscribe to the channel. By doing this, you will win an incredible devil fruit, so just comment which fruit you want. Let's start back in chapter 590 when Kuma shows up at Sabaody. He does that thing where he pulls Luffy's pain out of him. Yeah, that scene that shocked us all, but we never really stopped to think about how that affected the crew in the long run. What I believe is that when Kuma took Luffy's pain, he didn't just toss it away or give it to someone random. He stored that pain inside Zoro, who was standing there strong and loyal, right next to his captain. And why do I think that? Because Zoro has always been the kind of guy who can endure insane amounts of pain. Someone who doesn't seem to feel it the way other people do. We've seen it over and over, like in chapter 598 when he fights Kaku. He gets wrecked but keeps standing, never showing what we'd call real suffering. Isn't it possible that this is connected to Kuma's transfer of pain? Then there's chapter 599 during the Thriller Bark arc, when Zoro volunteers to take on all of Luffy's pain and fatigue. What does he do? He nearly sacrifices himself, ends up totally exhausted, but doesn't stop moving forward. Now think about it. What if that moment was the key that let Kuma mark him somehow? Maybe the transfer wasn't just about easing Luffy's pain. It might have been something deeper, something that gave Zoro a kind of superhuman endurance, like a form of practical immortality, something neither he nor we realized at the time. Another thing that stands out is how Zoro, no matter how badly he's beaten, never shows that typical vulnerability people have when they're about to break. Take chapter 932, for example, when he fights King. He takes hits that should kill just about anyone, yet he gets up again, like he's powered by something beyond the physical. That makes me think it's more than just training or willpower. Maybe Kuma passed on a part of his own resilience into Zoro during that transfer, an invisible barrier that keeps him from breaking even in the worst situations. Maybe this also explains why Zoro is always able to come back during the most intense moments in the story, no matter how hard he's been pushed. I don't think this immortality is some flashy power like a devil fruit or a sword technique. It's more like a special condition, something hidden, working silently in the background, keeping him in the game way longer than what makes sense logically. There's also that moment in chapter 1013 when he's fighting Kaido. If you look closely, the fight is brutal. Zoro is at his absolute limit, but he doesn't go down, not even for a second. If that's not a sign that something's different about him, I don't know what is. Maybe, by that point in the story, we're starting to see the result of that immortality seed Kuma planted way back when he took Luffy's pain. And the craziest part is that this immortality doesn't show up in a classic way like Zoro is invincible or he doesn't feel anything. It's the opposite. He does feel, he does fight, he does suffer, but he never disappears, never vanishes, never dies. That makes me think Kuma, in a way only he understands, left some kind of life insurance inside Zoro, like a hidden safeguard to make sure Zoro never strays from Luffy's path, and maybe so he can fulfill an even bigger role in the story, one we can't fully grasp yet. In the end, I think this theory only gains weight when we reread the manga with sharper eyes. Oda's a master at hiding little gems in the middle of all the action and dialogue. Maybe he's been setting the stage for a major reveal about Zoro, that what seemed like a simple pain transfer was actually a gift of resistance, a kind of silent immortality way deeper than it looks on the surface. Now, what does immortality really mean in this case? It's not that Zoro is floating around without feeling anything, or that he can't get hurt. Quite the opposite. He feels everything, gets hit hard, bleeds and falls, but he always comes back. Zoro has this physical limit that stretches like rubber, and I think that's where we should focus. A level of endurance so insane it borders on what we could call practical immortality. And who better than Kuma to be the one behind it? After all, he manipulates pain, suffering, even souls, and that probably goes way deeper than what we've seen. Chapter 599 is one of the clearest moments for this theory, when Zoro decides to take all of Luffy's pain into himself at Thriller Bark. You remember that scene, right? Zoro basically gives up his life to save his captain captain and the rest of the crew. But what many people miss is that this sacrifice may have been the trigger that allowed Kuma's transfer from Sabodai to settle somewhere safe. In other words, the pain Kuma pulled from Luffy didn't vanish. It was stored inside Zoro, but more than that, it was transformed into a force that keeps him alive in the most extreme situations. There's a big difference between feeling pain and being destroyed by pain. And ever since that moment, Zoro seems to have learned to live with it in a way no one else can. It's like he has an extra tank of stamina or an invisible shield. In the more recent chapters, like 932 against King, he takes blows that would be fatal to anyone else, but he gets back up, strong, and keeps fighting. Is that really just training? I think there's something more going on. I also think it's cool to imagine that what Kuma did wasn't by accident. If we look at his background and everything he represents, it becomes clear that he's a key piece in the fate of the Straw Hats. When he took Luffy's pain away, he didn't just ease a heavy burden, he also created an invisible bond between Zoro and the captain's suffering. Maybe that connection is the reason Zoro never goes down, even in the most extreme situations. He's carrying that pain like a shield. Another thing that might support this theory is the fact that ever since that moment, Zoro has never suffered an injury that actually took him out of the game for good. Sure, he gets beaten up badly even, but he always finds a way to keep standing. His immortality is silent, no one talks about it, but it's there in practice. And that makes me think that Kuma, in a subtle way, left a sort of inheritance for Zoro, a protection to make sure he can stay by Luffy's side no matter what happens. And maybe that protection is also some kind of preparation for what's coming. Oda loves to plant seeds way back that only show their true meaning much later. And maybe this immortality is one of those hidden twists that will play a big role in future battles, especially since Zoro is one of the characters who grows and evolves the most in the story. I also can't leave out chapter 1013, that insane fight against Kaido. Zoro was clearly on the edge, totally worn out, but he still kept going, and that really backs up this idea. Maybe that kind of resilience is a direct result of what Kuma did. You can't deny that even when things seem completely hopeless, Zoro finds a way to push through, and that's got to be more than just willpower. Finally, I think it's worth pointing out that this immortality doesn't come off as something magical or obvious, because that's not really how One Piece tells its stories. Zoro's immortality is practical, functional, hidden behind pain and sacrifice. It's a quiet condition that works like an invisible shield, and only people who really know the details can catch it. So, putting all this together, I think the idea that Kuma made Zoro immortal, or at least gave him an insane level of endurance, makes a lot of sense, and it has way more weight than people realize. Maybe it's one of Oda's biggest tricks, hiding in plain sight, just waiting for someone to notice. That was today's content. We hope you liked it and want to share your opinion on the subject. Don't forget to share the video, give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care and stay amazing.